Hello, everyone. This is Rosie, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of my podcast called My Intrusive Thoughts. Hi. Usually, I would start an episode with a bit of insight into how my week has been going or whatever, but honestly, today I just want to take a minute and rant about the weather. Oh my god, I don't know about you guys, but I hate summer. Like heat, sweat. Apart from mangoes, I think there is nothing about this weather that appeals to me on any level. And so every time every time I walk out the door and I'm, blasted off by that gush of hot wind. I don't even know what to call it. Like it's like straight out of the pits of hell. That sort of wind and the sun beating down on your ass. All of it. Oh my god. You sit down in your car and for the first 5 minutes, you just have to sort of send up a prayer to God that your bum doesn't get stuck to the seat because it's so hot, and you just hope that you don't get fried off and develop skin cancer right off the bat because it's hot. Oh my god. The other day I accidentally parked my car in the wrong spot, right beneath, directly underneath the sun. There was no shade at all, and I went out to do something, and I was only gone for 5 minutes, and I did not keep my car running because fuel, and you don't want to add to the air pollution plus gas rates. You don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be wasting gas. But I came back. It had been 5 minutes, and I turned the car on again, and I was literally about to die from heat stroke. It was that bad. And I don't know how people do it. I don't know how you guys who love summer find anything that's worth enjoying. Apart from the mangoes, I like the mangoes, but there are some people who hate mangoes as well, so sucks for them if they do hate this season because I can't. Winter is the time where you hibernate, where you're feeling blue and sort of depressed because you're not getting enough sun or whatever. But for me, those months are my most active out of the entire year. I feel more alive. I just feel more like myself during the winter time, autumn time. But during the summer, I just want to bury myself in a cave and not come out until this entire season is over. So yeah, that's me these days, just complaining constantly about the weather and just hoping and praying for rainfall. The amount of times I check my weather app every single day just to see if I will get any amount of rain, and it's not happening. It hasn't happened in a while. It's been excruciating, to say the least. And that was a very absurd way to start an episode, but I really had to talk about it for a second there because it's been hell. It's really been hell. So lately I've just had a lot of extra time on my hands, and I've just been doing a lot of thinking, introspection, and just thinking about how my life has been these past few years. Because ever since the pandemic started, I feel like a lot of things changed, and most of them not in a positive way where I could be oh my god, I'm learning something new. Because there were people who took that time and opportunity as a reset, a timeout, and tried to work on themselves or take a break to get to know themselves better, learn new hobbies, whatever. Well, that was not the case for me. I felt like it was more of a full stop for me because I think I've mentioned this before on this podcast as well, that I have always been the kind of person who likes to always be doing something and having a lot of free time on my hand. I just kind of forget how to function. If I have a lot of time, my brain just malfunctions and I'm oh my god, I'm free. What the hell? What is the purpose of my life anymore? And I kind of spiral a lot. So I tend to always have something to do so that I can keep myself busy, which is not a good thing, I assume. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are, mental health professionals who might be listening to this would be like, that's not a good thing. That's not a healthy way to go about this, but that's just how I've been. So, anyways, now that I have a lot of time, I'm just like, what do I do with myself? And during the pandemic as well, it was the same. I just kind of felt like, what the hell is going on? And I think the greatest effect this entire break, the pandemic, I mean, had on me was how I just became so isolated. And I know it was the same for a lot of people who, no matter where in the world they were, we all had to social distance. We all had to kind of isolate ourselves and be by ourselves for a longer period of time. But for a person like me who already had like a very small social circle, it was excruciating. It was kind of like, being cut off from the only source of any outside interaction I have ever had. Even when I was in med school, I was mostly busy studying. So I think I was the typical med student who would rather just be in the library and study than hang out with friends or even. And I think it's not about being in med school. It was more like I am an introvert through and through, and the kind who would rather, plunge myself off of a cliff than initiate conversation with strangers or like walk up to people and talk, because I don't know. I've tried to get out of that bubble, but it never really works out. I just feel uncomfortable, and I'm just like happy with the friendships and the people that I have in my life already. And it all kind of like, the other day I was just sitting down, like I said, and I was thinking about how that happened, because like when I think about it, I've never actively gone out and sought out friends. Like, it's never been that, I wake up one day and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to school today and I'm gonna try and make a new friend. Never. It's like, a lot of times the friendships that I have right now are people I just got stuck with doing something or another. It was like either school projects or choirs or, being on some kind of like, doing some activity together, which was kind of like sprung upon me, and it was never like a voluntary sort of effort on my part, which sounds horrible, I know, when I say it out like that, but that is the truth. And so a lot of these people that I call friends right now are people that I somehow came in contact with, and then we kind of hit it off, clicked, and they passed my vibe check, which, to be fair, is to give them credit, is very hard to pass anyways, because I'm just very picky with people that I spend time with or would like to spend time with. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of self-imposed, but also just, as an adult, it's so hard to make friends and to actually, carry that friendship with you and nurture that friendship. I would talk about, other romantic relationships as well, but I feel like the most impact that this side of my life has had was on my friendships in general. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And like, mostly I would say that when I talk about friendships, I am referring to my social circle, which is very limited. So maybe not every introvert is like that, obviously that's not even a question, I think, but it's a personal experience that I'm talking about right now. For example, my best friend and I can't even remember exactly how we became close friends, but I do know that, we started school together. So I've known this girl for almost 20 years of my life, 23 actually. And we were rivals in the beginning. We had the classic enemies to friends sort of situation where we were part of the choir. We were both lead singers in the band, school band, and we would always fight over, what part we would sing. And it wasn't like a fight, but just like a rivalry between two lead singers where nobody said anything, but it was just like it's either gonna be her or that girl. So we kind of grew up in that kind of environment, which was very weird. Like, now that I think about it, like, there was no need for us to be this stingy with each other, but it kind of just like fueled our competitive like side, and it helped us thrive, and it helped us like improve ourselves. And I think our teachers, our mentors would like let it slide because it was ultimately helping us better ourselves, you know. So yeah, I think it was kind of healthy at that point. But like as we grew up, and we actually ended up in the same class during our O levels, and from then on, I think we kind of like the genre of our friendships sort of changed. We went from just being like these rivals to classmates to friends. And then, you know, something with me happened which was very traumatic for me, and I view that time of my life as like a very dark time. So when that happened, um she was one of those people who kind of like reached out, and it was weird because like the people that I expected to be there for me were not there, and I think that has stuck with me a lot. I think that is one of the reasons why it's so hard for me to reach out and like open up to people now. um like, I expected some people to really, you know, I don't know why I did though. I was a teenager. I didn't know better. I think that's how I would say. That's how I would excuse myself and my expectations, like my incredible expectations, which I've now understand were a little too unfair to these people. But for some reason, I just felt like they would be there, you know, no matter what. But they weren't, sadly, and that really hurt me. But then this girl, who I secretly did not like all that much, was there. Like, she understood my pain. She reached out, even if she didn't understand. She tried to, and she helped me kind of feel some semblance of, you know, normalcy around the time when I felt like my life was chaos and I did not know what was going on. And I think that really stuck with me. The fact that she reached out, and she did not expect me to like appreciate her or anything. She wasn't asking for any accolades. She just felt like she could help me in that time, and she did it out of her pure you know, intentions of her heart. She wanted to cheer me up, and that really, you know, touched some heartstrings for me. And since then, we just like got closer, and now we're best of friends. And then she moved away. We both moved away. We were like on separate ends of the earth, but we found a way to keep in touch. We would like call each other at times, like, you know, a video call here and there, or we would send each other voice notes. Like, that's how we communicate mostly. And in the beginning, you know, it was fun how like we would take ages to reply, but nobody would take it seriously because we both knew I was in med school. She was also, you know, starting a new life, you know, in a new country, and you know, starting school again and stuff. So we were both going through things, but then we would just like, you know, what is it called? Like, we would send each other like cluster messages all the time, and I would like, you know, in the middle of the night I would be receiving these cluster messages, and I'd be like, okay, something's happening with this girl. So I'll just like, you know, take my time, read the messages, listen to the voice notes, and then reply in my own time. And it became like a thing with us where we would go months without talking, like no, you know, peep, nothing. And then suddenly out of nowhere she'd be like, oh hey, so this happened, this, and she would like update me about her entire life, up to the point that we hadn't talked before. So, and I loved it. I felt like that was what I needed in that time where I couldn't actively keep up with my friends. And I think I will always be grateful to her for that. And same happened with one of my other best friends. He also moved across the globe, and we actually were never actually friends. Like, it's funny because I would like to think that we became closer when he left, and we somehow re-clicked on Snapchat of all things. And from there on we would like talk, and you know, it just because we had already studied together, but we never really spoke, which was weird, because we were always hanging out in the same group of friends, but then kind of like, you know, clicked and started talking. And then now he's one of my closest friends, and he knows all about my family dramas, and you know, everything. Like, he hates people that I hate, and he haven't even met them, kind of like vibes, you know. So I love that. I love the fact that I can just like reach out to him anytime I want and just, talk, watch movies together, or, stuff like that, even though we're like miles apart all the time. And this is the friendship. Like, these are people that I don't really get to see a lot. Like, I think the last time I saw him was in 2016 before he left. And other than that, we have had like I think 4 video calls over the years. Otherwise, we just talk on like text apps, or like we would call each other or like something, but not face to face. Obviously, he hasn't been back in a while. And then the other friend I was talking about, the rival one, she just came back to Pakistan after a while, and I got to meet her recently. And it's that's where I was like, sitting down and just thinking of how we were so close at one point, where we'd like see each other at school every single day for like 8 hours, and now we literally have to move the entire universe to be able to meet like for 3 hours at most. But that is adult friendships for you. Like, you just have to kind of understand and kind of prioritize your life according to whatever is going on. And true friends are those who understand that and respect that and don't take it personally, because I see a lot of people who get offended by the fact that, oh, she's your best friend and you haven't seen her like in 6 years, so what the hell, like, how are you even friends? Like, how does that make sense? I'm like, it does, and I don't know how to explain it, but it happens to everybody. Like, naturally, as you grow older and you have more responsibilities and other things weighing you down in everyday life, friends kind of like, there are people who do have the blessing and opportunity to be around their friends all the time. But for people like me who literally have their friends move away to different parts of the world, so it's kind of hard. But you put in that effort, and they put in that effort, and that's how, like, it's a mutual thing, right? You have to both try to make it work, and if you do, it's beautiful. And I really like that. I really enjoy these friendships that I have, these because we don't expect a lot from each other, and at the same time, we know just how far to go with stuff. Like, I would sometimes be like, girl, I haven't seen your face in a while, whatever, are we even friends? And then she would just like joke about how, yeah, I haven't heard from you for a while, are you alive? And I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I guess I am, kind of thing. Like, so you just click with them, and it's beautiful. Now, on the other hand, as a teenager, I feel like if I had the same group of friends, I think if the current me was to like look back and think of how the past me would have reacted to this form of socialization, I would be very disappointed, I think. Because, like, growing up, I always felt like I needed to have a lot of friends. I always wanted to have a big group of friends who would like hang out together, like party together, go out on road trips, and be at each other's places doing sleepovers and stuff. And I got to do that, like some of it, but in a very limited circle. And I just felt very kind of like, um I don't know, like lesser than for a while, because in college I would see all these like big groups and people like having fun and stuff, but then I was there, the depressed old me, and just with few people around me. And even then, I was very much socially anxious all the time, so I would always be like, oh my god, what do they think of me? Do they hate me? Like, I was battling a lot of like trauma at that point in life, so I never got to really enjoy that time with my friends. I was always just preoccupied with one thing or another, and by the time I kind of got my shit together, it was too late, and we were already graduating, and everybody was like moving away, moving on in their lives, and I felt stuck. I was like, wow, I don't have anyone to lean on. I don't know why I felt like I needed to depend on people, and that made me want to reach out and make friends. But then I did realize that trying to make friends because you need them, uh to be there for you to function is very toxic and not a good idea, not a good um, mindset. You need to have friends because you help each other grow, but also that you're an individual person and they are an individual person, and you both have different lives, and you can't expect them to always be around. Because I think that really hurt me, that time in life where I needed friends and nobody was around, and I just felt like, wow, so this is it. And I was and then I realized that maybe I was the one expecting a little too much, and I needed to kind of like realize that other people have priorities, and maybe I was never a first priority for a lot of people. So it's not really their fault for me to be feeling hurt. I mean, yes, me being hurt is valid still. Like, I need to validate myself in feeling hurt because they were still my friends, and I did feel like you know I could ask them for help, and they didn't provide that comfort that I was seeking. So yes, I was hurt, but at the same time, me expecting like for them to move mountains for me was a little too much, I think. So there's that. But as an adult, you do realize that these things are just part of life, ups and downs, and you can't always expect other people to be around all the time for you. But also that little forms of communication go a long way. For example, like if I'm feeling sad or if I'm having a bad day, I just like text my friend and be like, "Oh, I had a bad day," and then I would leave that, and I won't expect her to like immediately reply and be like, "Oh, so what happened? Like, tell me all about it." I would just like let her be, in her own time and space. Give her the give her the space to read that message, to process that, and reply to me if she wants to, or not. And I'm not expecting her to like right away come flying off on a horse, on a unicorn, to save the day for me. And I think that's progress. I hope. I hope that is. And that's what I call adult friendships, where that you're a little more mature with expectations from people, and you understand that everybody has a life, and that even still, it's actually better, I think, in a way where when you don't expect people to do a lot of things for you and then they actually do, and you're just like, wow, they are putting in that effort. It's just more special in that way. Like, I remember this one time I was really upset about something, and my best friend called me up, and I think he was working that day or whatever, and he calls me up and he's like, "Oh, I know you're upset. Do you want to talk about it?" And I was like, "You have work. Like, why are you calling me? Like, focus on your stuff." And he was like, "No, I mean, I could like hang out for a few minutes and talk to you and stuff." And I felt really appreciated. I felt really good, and I was very thankful for that. And I feel like as a teenager, I wouldn't have really understood the significance of that call. And yes, it takes like experience, and it takes you living life to come to terms with these things and maturing. And I'm not saying that you have to grow old to be mature like that. I mean, some people at that age would have had a better response and a better outlook than I did, definitely. But for me, that was how it worked out. As I grew, as I got hurt over and over again, I realized that, okay, girl, you're not depending on other people. Like, that's not what friendship is. Friendship is for you to be a companion in good times and bad times, and also understand that they have their own space and they have their own timelines, and they're doing things. And also, as an adult, I feel like this I've seen a lot talked about recently as well, that as friends you kind of like all take different paths in life, maybe, or maybe you're pursuing the same paths in life. There's always this thing where you're doing something and the other person's doing something, and then there's a comparison, like, oh, so this person turned out like that, because they see people, I don't know about other communities, but they see parents do that all the time. We're like, oh, your friend got into like med school, what are you doing with your life? Or, oh, your friend bought a house, what have you achieved in life? Like, I don't know, man. This really irritates me and really makes me uncomfortable, because I believe that everybody has their own timelines, everybody has their own pace in doing things. So like, my friend got married at 20, and I'm 26 and I'm still single, and enjoying my singlehood. But then I know somebody who is getting married next year, and they are not even done with the school yet. But I'm done with my school at 26, and I'm like, still, I don't care. So everybody is going through different things. They prioritize different things. And so I don't know why there is ever a need to compare in the first place. But then I guess, like, they see parents just do. I don't know why. I don't have an answer for that. And it can be a little hard on you emotionally, because it makes you feel incompetent at times. Where like, oh, so this person has done this, and where am I in life? Like, what am I doing with myself? I'm a waste of space, blah blah blah. But I guess my takeaway from this ramble was that don't compare yourself to others, and I hope that the friends you have around you don't do that to you either, because that's just toxic and just not a good thing. Don't do that, people. Desi parents, if any one of you is a Desi parent, please don't do that to your kids either. It's not a good look. It doesn't sound right. And as a kid, having your parents compare you to your friends who you believe to be, a companion to you in your good times and bad times, you don't want to feel like you have to race them to achieve things. Or I mean, a healthy competition, I understand that, but when you when you tear somebody apart over something that is not even part of their goal or whatever, it's just not a good look. And I don't know how I just came to this whole train of thought, but it happened and I just had to say it. In today's world, where globalization is a thing now, everybody has access to everything on the web and otherwise. So there's like so many different ways to reach out and hang out. But also at the same time, I feel like that makes it all the more harder for you to be able to connect with people, because this is one thing, right? I was not able to talk to my best friend for like 5 years because she was away in a different country, but I texted her like every other day, or we knew what was happening with each other. But meeting her in person was a different experience. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but our body language was different. We were comfortable with each other, obviously, because we'd known each other for like 23 years, but still it felt a little different, a little new, and I felt like a little nervous seeing her after a while. But at the same time, it kind of felt a little unfamiliar as well. So there's that. You could connect with somebody online, but it wouldn't be the same if you were like physically present. So that kind of makes you feel a little more scared to reach out and stuff, because like I enjoy texting people, I enjoy talking to people online, because I find online conversation more easy to maneuver, and I would even probably initiate conversations online either, but like doing it physically is like a whole task for me. And even if we've known each other for a long while, it takes a lot for me to be able to like converse. It kind of drains my social battery so much so fast that I just struggle with that. Maybe that's a problem. I don't know. People who are listening would be like, "Oh, she probably has social anxiety and depression, and I don't know, some form of like a disorder or something." Because what the hell? What am I doing? I don't know. Like I sound way weird when I say that out loud. I feel like I sound weird while talking about this stuff, because like I'm pretty sure people are like rolling their eyes and being like, "This girl has problems. Okay, she needs to go see a doctor." Um, but honestly, like I find online communication much more easier and comfortable than real life conversations. I kind of like run away from physical interactions, which is a bad thing. And I think having technology and being dependent on technology so much has kind of obliterated my social skills. And then on top of that, we had the pandemic, which was worse. Like I felt like I had to relearn how to talk to people, like how to understand what people were saying, like social cues, and just greet people and stuff. It was hard to go back to like normal life after the pandemic, and I still struggle with it to this day. Like when you're in a professional setting, it's easier because you have an assigned role and you have to do that. So you get into like it becomes second nature for you. But then, like, for example, I'd be at the hospital and I would be interacting with, the patients and their attendants and stuff like that. But like, you could be walking down the road and you would wave at me, and I'd just probably be confused, like, do I wave back? Like, do I smile? Do I like say hello, or do I like approach you, or do I just stay like, it's a whole mess. And I don't know if it's just me. I hope it's not just me, because then that would make me feel really bad about myself, because I don't want to be the only person struggling like that. Oh god, the idea of that is just very horrible. But anyways, that's me, and it's been a struggle to kind of relearn how to, integrate with the community, and communicate, and just, reach out and make friends. But I recently did end up like making a new friend, even though it was like a mutual of ours. Like, me and my best friend, one of her other friends showed up who I had not met but I'd heard of, and we clicked instantly, which was very surprising. It was very surprising that we clicked off so, like, instantly, like, right, like, we said hello, and then we were like off trauma bonding. And that's one more thing. I think as an adult, I don't know, maybe it's just me or other people, but my form of like it's gonna sound weird, but like, my form of bonding with people, like, is talking about our traumas. Like, I would be like, so what kind of dark trauma did you experience in your teenager? Like, what makes you wake up at night sweating and screaming? Like, that's my idea of getting to know people better. Like, dark things about, like, I don't know, this sounds so horrible right now, I believe, but oh my god, that's me and my best friend. Like, we talk about traumas, we talk about all the bad things that happen, although yes, of course, we talk about the good things as well. But I feel like talking about our traumas, like, trauma bonding, is something that made us get closer, which we always laugh about, which I think in hindsight we shouldn't laugh. But I mean, if you've been through shit, you would know that trauma and humor go hand in hand. There's no way you can cope with that sort of like stuff without growing a funny bone in you. If you don't have one, if you have already, then wow, you're blessed. You'll find a way to get through it. But yeah, that's how it has been. Like, I met this girl, and I'd already heard about her from my friend, so my best friend. So it wasn't like I was totally, new to this person, but we kind of clicked and we were talking, and then my friend actually left, and then we were still sitting there for like another 3 hours, just, talking and catching up and connecting, and it felt weird. Like, that's not how you make friends. But then at the same time, I felt nice, because I don't have to go through the whole talking stage. Oh, what color do you like? Oh, what food do you like? And that was nice. I feel like as a child, it's easier to make friends, because you don't have any expectations. Just like, oh, sharing books, and being at the same play table, or having lunch at the same table, something. But you're not thinking about their background, their traumas, what kind of life they've lived, what kind of person they are, what characteristics they have, what are their beliefs, what gets them ticking, blah blah blah. You just like, you see them, you like them, you make friends, and you're best friends all of a sudden. But as an adult, there are a lot of things that you obviously have to consider, but sometimes you don't. And that's a very refreshing sort of idea, where you just meet somebody and you instantly click. And that happens very rarely for me. So it was kind of like a very nice experience. And we're actually going to be traveling together. This episode is going to go out on, I think, on Friday, right? So I can talk about it now, because we're planning to surprise my best friend. And so we're like going all the way to see her. And I have met her only once, this girl, and we've already like planned a whole road trip. And it's funny, because adults, I could have done that as a kid. I mean, maybe, I don't know. No, my parents would have never allowed me to just randomly go out on a road trip with somebody that I'd only met once. It sounds weird, doesn't it? But trust me, she's a nice person, and she's a lovely girl to get to know. And I'm hoping that we're gonna have a lot of fun. Overall, I think I prefer adult friendships more, even though they can be tricky to maneuver. Sometimes you don't have time at all. Sometimes it's like, catching up every 3 months, 4 months, years. But when you have that person where you could go weeks and months and years without talking, but then the moment you reach out and you're like in the same time zone or in the same place, and they reply, it's like as if that time hadn't passed at all, and you just fall back to the same sort of like routine with them. And they're familiar, they're people that that no matter what happens in life are going to be there for you, even if they're not actively present with you. That kind of friendship I love and I really cherish, and I believe everybody deserves friends like that. And as an adult who has responsibilities, who has things to do in their life, everybody does, obviously. um I feel like we all deserve friends like that, friendships like that, people around us like that. And if you don't have people like that, I think, me including, should make more effort to do that, because it makes a hell of a difference having people who are supportive, people who are going to cheer you on, just having people who would stand behind you and be like, do whatever you want. We're gonna be here. We're gonna make sure that you keep going. And yeah, that was me just rambling about adult friendships because I made a new friend and I'm very excited about it. And we're going on a road trip together. And I think it's one of those things on my bucket list where I wanted to always go on a road trip with a friend. I have not had the, what do you call it, like a planned road trip where we're going for like pleasure and just hanging out and kind of a vacation. I've never done that before, and it's the first time that I'm doing this on my own at that, so I'm very excited about that. Hopefully it's gonna go well and we're gonna have fun. So yeah, I just wanted to like talk about it. I want to know what you guys think about adult friendships and what you expect out of adult friendship. With that said, I'm gonna take my leave now. I think I've just exhausted my throat from talking. And I'll see you next week. Allah Hafiz.